We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by you know the thing.
We will shut you down. We will cite you, and if we need to, we will arrest you and we will take you to jail. Period.
I wasn't thinking of the Bill of Rights when we did this.
But no amendment to the Constitution is absolute.
God actually spoke to me. He spoke about sacredness. He said to me, Kim, what I place in many, many people is sacred. And if anybody touches what is sacred to me, then it is the end for them. So what I've done in the United States of America is sacred. And there are people on every side that are trying to destroy what I deem sacred. And it's not going to happen.
This is the definition of criminal conspiracy, racketeering, and collusion. This is not a theory. This is evidence.
Because I have upheld this country to spread a light to the rest of the world. When you choose to go against the sacred thing that God puts into the very heart and the soil of this nation, this was sacred to God.
Now is the time to act.
This is exactly why I need some action from my people.
This Internet of Things, right? Uploading your brain. Elon Musk talks about uploading your brain to the cloud, and you can upload it, you know,
right.
you can preserve it in any state you want, right? So, oh wait, let me see. You know, I prefer that brain that I saved when I was in my 30s. So I'm going to go back to that brain.
Oh boy.
And in fact, Klaus Schwab holds up Japan as an example of the future, right? Where you have people who are so lonely and isolated, they live in their homes, they have a sex robot for a partner, not a real human being.
Social phenomenon of people having relationships with virtual spouses.
And they don't go anywhere because they live in what? In the metaverse.
Right.
Where they have their own hologram, right? Their own identity. They can be anything they want. And let's see, transgenderism, transhumanism. In the metaverse, I can, if I'm a woman, it doesn't matter. I can be a man, I can be a woman, I can be whatever I want to. I can be an animal if I want to, right?
Right.
And so, or as Elon Musk said, a butterfly.
Right.
So, and then you start to see, wait a minute, now there's an addictive component to this. It's biologically addictive because it's releasing the endorphins that, you know, that hard drugs would release. Plus, they're pumping us full of narcotics because they don't actually want us to be useful. And anyone knows that if you're pumped full of narcotics, if you're an addict, you're pretty useless, right? Most of the time. And so you start to see this world, what our future really looks like. And what you're trying to understand here and lay out for people is what you see as the pieces of technology, the roadmap to how we get there. Right?
And we're getting there very soon. And what I'm worried about is most people that I've met this year, Laura, and I'm so thankful for Dr. Richard Bartlett, for Dr. Zelenko, for Mickey Willis, for Dr. Mikovits, for yourself, for people I meet, General Flynn, Mike Lindell, Eric Trump, critical thinkers that can handle having a thought that nobody else has because their thought is grounded on facts, where everyone else's, their decisions are based upon emotions. So as I meet these critical thinkers, and I put Eric Trump and Dr. Mikovits in that category, they can look at the truth, the rock of truth, although there's waves of emotion everywhere telling them they're wrong. They can hold on to that rock of truth despite the waves of emotion trying to, you know, tell them they're wrong. And I'm hoping there's enough people clinging on to that rock that we can save the rock of truth, that we can save humanity. Because right now, I'm seeing that most people I've met this year, again, I've met a lot of people, are telling me they make decisions in one of three ways. They say, what do the celebrities think? And you've met a lot of celebrities, so you and I know, I'm speaking on behalf of myself, I've met a lot of celebrities who are some seriously hollow heads that will do anything for $1. So I'm not impressed with celebrities. Second is, what do most people think? The media loves to do these random surveys where they say, you know, the vast majority of Americans think that President Trump could never be the president in 2016. And they keep putting out these polls, and most people say...
That's how you create false narratives.
What do most people think? And then the third is fear, just fear of what people think. I remember going to a football game this year, and they have these stupid signs up everywhere that say, stand 6 feet apart, wear a mask. And I see all the parents wearing masks as chin straps. So I thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to devote myself the rest of the game to cutting down every single sign that says wear a mask. I'm going to cut it down. I'm going to go get scissors, tear it down, throw it away. And it's amazing how many parents that were watching me going, oh, is he tearing down the signs? These are people wearing the masks as chin strap who are mocking COVID, but they're just wanting to go along to get along. And I believe if we comply, freedom will die.
Yuval Noah Harari and the others have laid out that there will be no freedom. I mean, this is the age of no privacy means no freedom. And smart technology doesn't mean we're smarter.
Right.
It makes them smarter.
I think the word smart means control.
Yes.
So smart TV,
Yes.
smart refrigerator,
Yes.
control TV, control refrigerator,
Right,
smart
because
car, control car.
You talked about they can control you depending on, what you think and your ideology and so on, but they can also do it, I mean, they're already doing it with climate narratives, that if what is your thermostat set too low or too high?
Well,
are you running your dishwasher too many times? Are you eating the wrong foods? Because remember now, under the World Economic Forum's program, there's a plan for food too.
And people will actually feel bad about eating meat if enough media says you're bad for eating meat,
It has the opposite effect on me. I was vegetarian most of my life. Now I mostly eat meat.
I just know that I used to...
That's my God gene
You remember
kicking in there.
You remember when Facebook first came out and people weren't really sure when to be on Facebook and when to not be on? There wasn't rules yet.
I'm the worst person to ask
Okay,
because
well-
I didn't go on any of it.
Well, all I can know is that I ran a DJ company at the time. My wife and I ran this business out of our house, and we had disc jockeys. We would do 4,000 events a year. And so you can imagine what it's like to employ 40 disc jockeys or 50 disc jockeys. They're all party animals. They're always hoarse because they're up all night partying.
Sounds
and
horrific.
one of the DJs, who was the manager, said, guys, he's the manager, he's one of my assistant managers. He said, guys, I don't want you on Facebook during the day. Clay does not want you on Facebook during the day. Do not go on social media during the day. And so the employees would still go on Facebook during the day when they're supposed to be working, they're on Facebook. So this guy pulls me aside and says, I'm going to deal with the social media thing. I'd prefer if you just not ask me what I'm going to do. And I go, you can't just have like totalitarian powers to enforce your management rules. He says, well, I've already done it, so I'm just telling you. What he did is he went on their social media accounts and posted long-form narratives about them coming out as a certain worldview that they weren't. And he just let it sit because back in the day Facebook wasn't synced to your phone. So these men don't know that everyone they know now thinks that they're not who they were. And he was like, and I didn't know what he had done. Well, the next day we come to work, and a guy who was a youth pastor got fired because of a social media prank of another man.
Yeah.
And it's like irreconcilable. You can't fix it because someone logged into his account and said, hey, everybody, I know I'm your youth pastor, but I'm gay. Just throwing it out there. I've always been gay, super gay. Writes a big old thing, and it had sat for 48 hours.
Yeah.
And so by the time that the guy discovered it, I mean, it's kind of funny now, I guess, but it's like he lost his job. His wife was mad. Everybody he knows was like, I'm not talking to you. I mean, it was like very divisive.
Probably for a long time, people kept asking.
And that's how the world is right now. People are just so irrevocably distracted.
Well, you can have a bunch of bots on Twitter create a grassroots movement, and it's not even real.
Right.
And everybody reacts to it. And people are fighting about it, and people could get fired over it, and so on and so on. And it's not even real, which is how, again, in this world of narratives, they don't care about what's real.
Right.
Because if we're going into a world where all of our brains are uploaded to the same cloud.
There you go.
And there's no information or disinformation or misinformation.
Right.
There's only what's on what they put into that cloud. And everybody's brains are connected, so we don't know where one begins and the other ends.
Yeah. Well, you had a show back in the day, you might know about it, about this no agenda. You have no agenda, and you would just seek the truth.
And don't say back in the day like it's ancient history.
Okay, well, recently. But all I know is,
And
guys...
I'm doing that show again, by the way.
Well, Mickey Willis, is a mutual friend of ours. And Mickey...
Who did the film Plandemic. In fact, the films, Plandemic 1, 2, and 3.
And I remember talking to Mickey one time. I said, how do you know how your film's going to end? And he says... I view myself as sort of a journalist. I'm seeking the truth. I have no idea how it's going to end. I'm going to get to the end. That's where the truth is.
Good answer.
And then I'm going to put it out. And I thought, that's interesting that you're making a film and not knowing how it's going to end. Do you know how long it's going to be? And he was like, no, I don't. So it's interesting.
Which is why no one wants to fund real journalism projects.
Right, because you don't know when it's going to end or how long it's going to...
I want to know how long it's going to take.
But now we're in a culture where if you turn on late night TV, the people in the audience are told to clap. So Eric Trump came to one of our events in Ohio, And Eric, his father, President Trump at the time, President Trump, who was not president, but he called Eric and said, or I don't know the whole conversation, but it was basically, do you mind if I hop on the phone and say hello via speakerphone to the Reawaken America crowd in Ohio?
I remember seeing this.
And so Eric said, that'd be awesome, Dad. And I wasn't there, I just kind of was hearing it, but I'm even seeing it, so I kind of hear. And he says, all right, Dad, we'll talk. So President Trump hops on the phone, and this crowd of churchgoers was so appreciative that the man they voted for to be president took time out of his schedule to validate them and to thank them for being there, and was very gracious. Well, then Jimmy Fallon, I believe it was, one of the late night hosts, then mocked Eric for calling his father.
Eric Trump, son of Donald, has been making the rounds as part of something called the Reawaken America tour. This is quite a tour. Michael Flynn, Roger Stone, the My Pillow guy, all the stars of the MAGAverse are there, including this electrifying young man.
And mocked him as though he's somehow a weak man because he loves his dad. And the late night hosts, they mocked me because I was at an event where I told people COVID is less deadly than the flu.
A real dipwit named Clay Clark took the stage today to convince the hardcore members of Trump's cult to kill themselves once and for all.
Who here is up to the task of not wearing a mask? COVID is not deadly. The PCR tests were fake, and the treatments that actually work are being kept from you for fake reasons.
I said that too, and Fauci mocked me, along with CNN host.
I mean, it's unconscionable what she said. Forget about the fact that she was being totally slanderous to me and, as usual, had no idea what she was talking about.
But what happens is people would come to me the next day because I don't watch media. I don't watch the mainstream media.
Right, and they'll come and tell you what someone
they're like,
said.
"Are you okay?"
I know.
What do you mean, am I
happens
okay?
to me.
It's in the Rolling Stone. There's an article about you. Are you okay? I'm like, I don't care what anyone says about me or what anyone posts about me. I'm just after the truth, and I worry in a culture where people right now are so concerned about how other people feel about them, in a world that's so irrevocably distracted and connected to their phone, in a world that's addicted to, people will tell me all the time, I emailed you yesterday, why didn't you respond? I said, well, I don't use email.
I have the same conversation.
And it blows people's mind. You don't use email? What?
But I would say to you
okay?
about that, there's a couple things, but you raise a very significant point, because right now we still have choices. I can choose, a gas car, or I can choose an electric car.
Yeah.
I can choose to answer my email or not answer my email, right? Or to have it or not have it.
Right.
But if we're moving towards and moving into a fully digital world, our children and grandchildren are not going to have those choices.
And we're marching towards that.
There won't be gas stations, and if there are, there won't be gas there, right?
We're marching towards it because soccer dads are refusing to speak up so as to not offend other soccer dads or soccer moms.
In part, and also because all the rewards in our society are for the people who follow the narrative.
Right.
Right. If you're
For the love of money is the root of all.
outliers, and and you're rejected in many ways. I mean, they don't give Oscars to the Clay Clark Show, right? Or to Jim Caviezel for Passion of the Christ, right? Oscars and Nobel Prizes now, and everything is given according to a certain ideology and a certain narrative.
Yeah.
So there are no rewards for that, and it's human nature to be followers rather than leaders.
Yeah. I stuttered a lot as a kid. I got made fun of a lot as a kid, like a lot.
That made you tough?
Well, I think I got to a point where I was like 12, maybe 13. And if you stutter, if anybody out there's stuttered, you can kind of relate to this, or maybe you've had some sort of thing where people mocked you at a young age. I just remember thinking, I go to school, I show up on time, I write down my notes, the teachers tell me, I do the best I can, and I get made fun of. This is what happens because I can't speak well. And I got to a place where I'm like, you know what, no matter what anyone says about me, it doesn't affect how I think about me. And at the end of the day, I have to answer to God. And at the time, it wasn't like a God spiritual thing, like a Jesus conversation. It was just more of like, hopefully God knows that I'm doing my best. And I got to a place at a very young age like that. And then I think we share a certain experience because I was a disc jockey entertainer. So when you're an entertainer, there's 1,000 people in one of you. And there's always one guy in the front row that doesn't think you're funny. And he's like, boo, you're terrible. And I was an entertainer. I was a disc jockey, MC guy. But I've gotten to a place as an entertainer or whatever, now when I do the Reawaken America tour, people can boo me and heckle me. It doesn't bother me. I just go after the truth.
So it was training.
I think it was. God knew what he was doing.
I
think we can either get bitter or better. And I think there's people out there that have become very tough because of the circumstances that we face. And all I know is that I'm not going to allow my kids to go into a concentration camp because I'm too irrevocably distracted pursuing things that the mainstream media wants me to pursue.
Here's a more difficult question.
Yeah.
A lot of people see this happening and they see what's coming.
Oh, yeah.
And they don't like it, but what they say to me is, you can't stop it. You can't stop progress. You can't stop technology. Every technology that's ever been introduced that people resisted over time, they died off, it was overcome, it was enforced or whatever.
Yeah.
And ultimately, this is the unstoppable train, and you either get on it or you perish.
I'm going to tell listeners out there a little history, and I encourage everyone to look it up and assume that I'm making it up. But the Founding Fathers, you had Sam Adams. History would show us that Sam Adams was a little bit optimistic that we could fight back against the Redcoats. He thought we could stop the tyranny of King George. And you had Benjamin Franklin, who was a little bit older at the time. He'd had a lot of success, and he's going, Sam, calm down. Calm down, Sam. We've had a good life. Let's just go along to get along. And you had these different Founding Fathers. And if you look up the ages of the Founding Fathers, a lot of them are 25, 35, 40, a lot. And there were some people like Benjamin Franklin who had had some success that were going, let's kind of go along to get along. And somewhere along the phrase, and it's been attributed to almost every Founding Father, but the phrase, the sentiment was, if we don't hang together, we're all going to hang separately.
Surely we will all hang separately.
Right. And so we don't know exactly how it started, but we do know that Sam Adams made it a point of not going along to get along. And I think that is where we are at. We're at a spot where we will now have to ask ourselves, do we believe in our constitutional rights to peaceably gather?
Do we believe in our constitutional right to privacy?
Do we believe
in our constitutional right to free speech?
And are you willing to fight for it? Because if you're not willing to fight for it, and that's the thing that I have struggled with, because I deal with my business owners who are clients. They're clients of mine. People pay me to help them grow their company. And I watched them, I talked to my Uncle John about this, but a lot of my clients were committing suicide financially this year.
That doesn't speak well of your advice.
I know, but during the lockdowns,
I'm just saying.
No, but this is what happened is, my clients would come to me, and they would say, yeah, as a family, we've decided we need to shut our business down to be safe. And I'm going, you got to be kidding me. What? And they're like, well, we just as a family have decided, we just don't want to put it at risk. We need to respect the virus. And I'm going, huh? And so thankfully, Aaron Antis of Shaw Homes and some of my early adopters, Aaron was like, if the models are false, the PCR tests are false, the treatments are real, we've got nothing to worry about. Shake my hand. He wasn't doing the elbow bump. He wasn't hiding behind a mask. But I'm telling you, Laura, right here in Oklahoma, where 77 counties voted for Trump, and probably 70% of my clients were in Oklahoma at the time, people were terrified of the virus, not the deadliness of the virus. They were terrified of the rejection of other people.
Yeah.
That's what they were terrified. They were fearful of other people. So I would see clients that would go, they would walk in my office and go, hey, I'm making up an example, just a name, but they'd say, is Carl here? And I go, no. They go, okay, I won't wear a mask then. And I'm like, so you would wear a mask if Carl was here? And they go, well, Carl's wife, she's got comorbidities and she's afraid of it, and I don't want him to think I don't respect him. So there's a lot of that. I just worry so much about people making their decisions based upon their emotions and not based on logic.
People believe they have the luxury to make decisions that way. What they are not factoring in is that some of these technologies, look in China, for example, you never had a lot of good options to resist the tyranny of the Chinese Communist Party, right? The price was always very, very high. But as the Chinese government locks down, right, your options become fewer and fewer.
And you brought up China, so I'll go there for a second. Brazil, Russia, India, China, and
BRICS.
South Africa. They're rolling out BRICS. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa.
Yes.
And that is a new gold-backed central bank digital currency system based in Shanghai.
Designed to shift away from the petrodollar and the dominance that the U.S. has had worldwide.
And for anybody that doesn't know that, since 1971, we've been off the gold standard, and we've been on the petrodollar since 1974. This will blow someone's mind. Henry Kissinger was a lead advisor who told Nixon, who prompted Nixon, who encouraged Nixon, we should get off the gold standard. Henry Kissinger was also the lead advisor who encouraged Schwab to start the World Economic Forum. And Henry Kissinger was also the one working with America to get us to move to the petrodollar in 1974. And the petrodollar, for anybody who doesn't know, the petrodollar is where we have a weird relationship with Saudi Arabia, where we say, we will protect you militarily as long as you sell oil to people that we like at a price we like, priced in US dollars, and if you'll deposit some of the profits in our banks, that would be nice. Yeah. And we've done that. Well, Saudi Arabia now is cozying up with China. So previous to...
And they're doing that in part because the United States has been cozying up to their arch nemesis, Iran.
Correct. And so now you have Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. That's 41% of the Earth's population. Now you have Venezuela, you've got Turkey, you've got Saudi Arabia. These countries are all teaming up.
They're all gravitating towards BRICS.
And if BRICS happens, if that if that gold-backed central bank digital currency is launched, the BRICS currency, we now will have a power shift where we're going to go from the US dollar to the Shanghai-based BRICS currency. And now you have this Chinese Communist Party having the ability to turn off your ability to buy or sell because it's all based in Shanghai. And it is...
Yes, and don't forget that at the same time, all this technology they want us to move to for climate, all the technology they want us to move to, all the computers and the phones and everything else, the rare earth minerals, China controls, the vast majority of the Earth's resources on that.
I think the next time we do an interview, we'll probably have to do it where you'll find me in Amish country, and we'll have to do the interview via paper and pen.
I am doing the interview via paper and pen. And speaking of which, Clay, let's go back to quantum. So we have quantum dot technology, we have the quant, and that's the CBDCs.
Right.
And then we have the CERN computer, which is quantum computer.
Right.
Right? The quantum computer. And then we have these low-orbit satellites, Neuralink.
35,000 low-orbit satellites that were put there in space by the Dragon rockets that are blanketing the Earth in 5G technology. And if you read the patents of Charles Lieber, humans can both send and receive signals via 5G. Have you seen these 5G towers?
Yes, they're everywhere.
I'm driving to church here today, and I tell my son, look at the foliage on that one.
Yes.
I mean, these are some very radical, like Star Wars looking.
They are, and there's so many of them.
Oh, and there's
for people that I know who are familiar with technology, they're like, why do you have 5 towers in line of sight of each other?
Right.
Like, what are they actually doing? Because the way it usually works, you don't need to be in line of sight, right? In fact, you don't want to be in line of sight. But if you watch a documentary, Taking Back Your Power, this documentary is one of the best things I've ever seen in my life. And it's talking about the smart meters that we now have on our power at home, and how they've been breaking the law and breaking into people's properties and forcing these smart meters onto people. And what people don't understand about it is that these smart meters are transmitting a radiological signal, right? So people say, oh, this is radiating people. And the companies say, no. It's so tiny. It's such a tiny amount of radiation. It's not actually enough to harm you. Right. But then what this documentarian did and what other people researching this did is they looked into the signals, and what they discovered was, yes, it is a tiny, tiny, tiny signal, but it's happening so often that over the course of an hour and then a day, it is radiating you significantly. And they even have a mother in this documentary whose son died of he called his mother from the University of San Diego, Mom, I have this terrible headache. He starts vomiting while he's on the phone. She says, go to the ER, go to the ER. They diagnose him with brain cancer, and in a very short amount of time after that, he dies. She spends a year trying to get University of San Diego to talk to her, eventually gives up and goes to the college and finds, lo and behold, the room where her son was living in his dorm, giant tower right outside the window, and all the people who stayed in that room, well, not all, but a number of people stayed there before him and after him, and in the adjacent rooms have all died of brain tumors.
To pile on to what you're saying, there is, if you go to timetofreeamerica.com, and again, I reference this because it's kind of like the encyclopedia of all things COVID, because these great presenters present, I document their patents and put it all in one place. But there's a button there, it's the 5G button. And if you click the 5G button, you're going to start to see that crystal oscillators are the technology that makes 5G work the way it works. And you're starting to see the crystal awards of the World Economic Forum. You're starting to see Kanye West or Ye West did a music video with Nicki Minaj talking about this new crystal technology. The song was called Hot, Boop, and they're walking around 5G towers in the video. You're starting to see the new Marvel movie talking about quantum technology. If you go to Target today or Walmart and you go buy a TV, it all says now it includes quantum technology. So I don't know that we want the quant, but it's being forced upon us. And if you go on the 5G button, there is now documentation linking 5G to coronavirus or COVID outbreaks. Like there's some sort of sickness caused by this. And there's all sorts of documentation. And what I fear is that people can't stop being so irrevocably distracted that it's hard for them to pay attention to
Okay, I know what you fear,
the
but
complexity.
let's go back to the technology
Okay.
for a moment, okay?
Okay.
So you said, well, there's some sort of technology does the 5G allow, is that a pathway to accessing CRISPR to allow for gene editing?
I know that the 5G technology can both send and receive signals, and I know there has been significant research into the fact that humans that have taken the COVID-19 shots are now generating a media access code.
Yes, I've seen this on the internet, but the problem that you have with all of this stuff, right? It's one thing when you go to the patents.
Yeah.
That's hard evidence, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't enough to keep Emerald Robinson's job at
Right.
Newsmax. However, now they've come out and admitted it.
Well, Newsmax, I mean, let's look who funds Newsmax, and let's ask ourselves, how many people that are involved in leading Newsmax go to Bohemian Grove?
Yes.
Let's have that question.
Which is a whole nother
Whole nother
conversation,
dis-
Clay.
Okay.
Going back to the technology, right? Quantum dot, quant, the quantum computer, and then this is, what do we have? There's another component.
Well,
What's the last component to your quantum roadmap?
Well,
to the destruction of
I just wanna
humanity and the end of the world.
Well, I just want to recap. If you put the quantum dot under your skin, now they can store your financial and your vaccination records under your skin. Then you have the quant, the central bank digital currencies. You now have the quantum computer that is now at CERN powering all this. And you're having this quantum technology emerging on virtually all smart devices. You will see that word. And Yuval Noah Harari discusses that in the future, a digital dictatorship will be very easy. And he talks about how he gets excited about it. He talks about how it will be impossible to fight against it because the technology is under your skin and it's omnipresent.
And he says openly, dictators like Stalin, Hitler, they've all wanted this.
Right.
And they've never had the ability to do it.
Correct.
But now we have it, and Western governments have the ability to do it, and they are doing it.
Right, and I see people. I was at the phone store in Oregon because I had to get a new phone, and I talked to the phone guy. You know, sometimes you're stuck at the phone store and you're talking to the phone guy.
It never ends. You go to AT&T, it sucks the life out of you.
And I'm
for
talking to the
a
phone
day.
guy, and the phone guy's got the mask on, and phone guy's kind of, "What's up, bro?" And I said, "Hey, just a quick question for you. Would you ever put a chip in your head? Because I just want to know." And he goes, "Oh yeah, it's awesome. I've heard about this Neuralink, right?" And I'm going,
I know.
and no hesitation. Like, "Oh yeah, yes."
I know.
That's where they're at. So, but if you
And then, of course, you can add to that what the quant stamp.
well, yeah. If you look up quantum stamp, everyone goes to Google quantum stamp. Quantum stamp is a technology for what they're calling your vaccination
Passport.
Quantum stamp, which is only disturbing if you think about it.
Okay, Clay. Let's to finish this out,
Yeah.
right? Let's talk about Grimes.
She's a Canadian musician, if you want to call it that, who was living with, having a child with, and then a second child with Elon Musk. They decided to name their kids names that you can't pronounce. Elon Musk and Grimes went together to the Met Gala, where Elon Musk wore a New World Order jacket, a jacket with New World Order on the back of it. She has tattoos on her back that look demonic. She wrote a song called "We Appreciate Power" in 2018 that prophesied the entire narrative of COVID-19. She wrote a song called "Shinigami Eyes," which, by the way, Shinigami Eyes is an Oriental term for if you've given your soul to the devil and you can now see into the souls of others.
Then you have Shinigami Eyes.
Yeah, and she has a music video called "Shinigami Eyes" where she runs around shooting people with arrows. in the movie, in the video, We Appreciate Power, she's holding a white rabbit while she's plugged into the internet.
And the white rabbit significance? As a molecule, it represents, it's the same shape as the molecule of adrenochrome, which people don't want to talk about because it's
I don't want to talk
controversial.
about it.
Because it's controversial. However, just from a biological point of view, it is actually something real released from the adrenal gland.
And when you start to look at, Liz Crokin just joined the Reawaken America tour, and I'm so honored to have her. Liz, she really researched the corruption of Epstein. I mean, really exposed, Podesta emails and Pizzagate. And these people are Luciferians. These people, Epstein, Marina Abramovich, they are satanic.
Okay, so it's a lot for people to take in. You have a lot of these documents on your website.
Yeah.
People, I never want to convince people of anything. My job as a journalist is not to convince them. You have been studying this for a long time, which is why we wanted to have this,
all I do.
This conversation. Yes.
That's all. There's nothing else I do. I literally, I have determined that, because I know a lot. I don't know that, I know a lot about history, and I don't run around talking about my knowledge of history. I just know a lot about history. I enjoy reading it, knowing what's going on. And I remember going upstairs telling my wife, I'm like, they want to put us in quarantine camps. And if you look up CDC green zones, anyone can look that up tonight?
I've seen them.
The Centers for Disease Control, which, by the way, the CDC
Had this plan.
is referenced in HR 666, by the way. They're referenced as a key component. They're trying to mix the Centers for Disease Control with a military police state to enforce mental health policies. And they want to take you to a CDC green zone. And so I am of the opinion, this is my opinion, I'm 42. I've been discussing this topic, I believe, since I was 38. I think. I could be wrong. If I exchange 4 years of my life for 5 or 7, and then my kids get to stay out of a concentration camp, that's a good trade-off.
It could be all your life.
But I think a lot of people here in our country think that there's this weird option where we're just going to let somebody else figure it out. And I'm not saying this to put my friends on blast, but I'm telling you, if it wouldn't have been for General Flynn's conviction and really calling me out behind the scenes, saying you have to do more of these. More of these Reawaken America tour events. You can't just do one. Oh. And if it wasn't for Mike Lindell and that backbone to push other patriots behind the scenes, if it wasn't for Flynn and Lindell and people like yourself and Mickey Willis that were pushing and holding the line, I think a lot of us wouldn't have understood how serious the situation is. And I'm hoping that this particular video documentary can prove that courage is more contagious than COVID-19. But if you're watching this right now and you think that you have time to sit this one out while the white hats are in control to come save us with some secret plan, this just in, I'm not calling out people. I know the white hats. I know the people all the way up the org chart, the top name in the Conservative Party. I know these people, shaking their hands, spent time with them.
So who are they?
Well, like Eric Trump, that's President Trump's son.
He's a white hat?
Oh, he's not sitting around saying there's a secret plan that I don't want you to know about that's we're just slowly waking up
I don't think
people.
that's what people mean by white hats.
I think a lot of people think that white hats are the secret group of people who have an incredible plan that somehow involves us sitting back and letting it unfold because people couldn't handle the truth. It was all presented at one time, so we need to let it unfold. There's a lot of that sort of logic that's easier to digest for people that know what's going on, but we are the plan. And so we, the people filming, the people watching, we are the plan.
Which doesn't mean there aren't also people working behind the scenes.
I just think there's a big narrative.
It just means that this is so big, it's going to take everyone.
I think there is a big narrative that exists within those who don't hate freedom, conservatives, that they believe there is a plan and that they can sit this one out because there's some sort of miraculous plan. And I believe that idea exists within the prophetic space, Christian prophetic. I believe it exists within the medical space. I believe it exists within the political space. I meet people that are the actual attorney general for their state. I've done this twice. And they go, I got to sit this out because there's an election coming up. But you know what? I've heard that such and such in this state's going to do it. Yeah. No, they're not coming. There's no reinforcements. And I hear doctors say it.
Yeah.
And I'm hearing pastors say, well, Clay, if God wanted it to not happen, then he wouldn't have revealed this to us. And I'm going, what? I mean, so let's go back and look at Moses for a second. I believe the Bible to be literal. God called Moses at the age of 40, who stuttered, by the way, to get involved, and Moses had to take action. God called Abraham. He told Abraham, leave your family, leave your kinfolk, leave what is familiar to you, and go follow my purposes. Could you imagine leaving your kinfolk? He told Noah for 120 years, build an ark. And I'm sure Noah thought, why? And God says, it's going to rain. And he says, what's rain? We've never seen rain. What is this? I mean, so yes, it requires faith, but it requires action. It requires, just like you had to get on a plane to get here, we had to set it up to film it. We had to take action and have faith. That I had to have faith you would be here. You had to have faith that I would be here. We had to take faith with action. I think a lot of people just have a lot of faith
and no action.
And no action. And it's bizarre to watch people just, it is bizarre. And if you go to these Republican gatherings right now, a lot of them are starting to say, America will be free because we're the home of the free and the brave. And that's why we're brave and free, because we're the home of the free and the brave. Because that's why we're going to stay free, because America's the best country. That's why we're the best. And people like yourself who've seen South Africa and know the history of how a country can be destroyed, people who came from Venezuela, who've seen their country be destroyed, they know freedom is not free, and it's only one generation away from being extinguished.
And speaking of South Africa, that's a good segue, because to close this, I just want to, I think it's important to note that we don't really know what's going on with Elon Musk. These things are indicators. They're indicators, but they're not the whole picture. Right. And we can try to piece it together, but we don't really know, because, for example, Elon Musk is someone who has the ability and the vision to see where artificial intelligence is going, but he may not, he may have chosen that path because it allows somebody, all of these things are double-edged sword. And so he may have made the calculation that, well, if I'm able to affect this, I can be accounted to the people in this space. I'm not saying it's the right decision.
I pray that Elon Musk is on our team, because
I just want to say, because it's not fair.
Right.
It's not fair to him.
True.
When journalistically, we don't have the evidence that proves that Elon Musk is a Satanist. Maybe, Grimes, certainly there are much stronger indications.
And I haven't said that he is. I would just say that Elon...
I understand, but I just want to make it, I just want to be very clear. People can have their own opinion.
Right.
They can, you can make an analysis based on what we know, and it's fair to look at these things, but in a sense, it's kind of circumstantial evidence, right? It may be compelling, but it's not a smoking gun. It doesn't tell us everything. There's a lot we don't know.
If Elon was right here, this is what I would ask Elon. I would say, Elon, I've got 4 major concerns with you, buddy. 4. Why are you a fan of universal basic income? The same universal basic income that Schwab is a fan of. Why are you on that parallel track, you two? Why are you in favor of self-driving cars, same self-driving cars that Yuval Noah Harari and Klaus Schwab praise? Why are you a fan of mRNA, so much so you own an mRNA manufacturing facility that Klaus Schwab is a fan of? And why did you start OpenAI with $1 billion of funding from Bill Gates? When you online sort of pretend like you have a feud? Why is that?
Well, maybe the feud developed later.
And
they're fair questions.
And I would hope that he would be here. He would say, because I love Jesus, and I've harnessed this technology for the good team.
Which
say,
may be the case.
Shaka Baba.
Which may be the case. But you know what? I say this because just recently at Halloween, everyone looked at the costume Elon Musk was wearing, and they said, oh, look, this proves that he's a Satanist. And then it turned out to be it was the costume of a character that in a movie defeated Satan. So you just don't know. Some of this stuff we just don't know.
If you're Elon, if you're watching, thank you for liberating General Flynn and Laura and others out of Twitter hell. But please don't take us...
I wasn't in jail.
Well, please, I'm just saying...
I took myself off Twitter because of the trafficking.
There's just a lot of people like General Flynn I know who've recently been unbanned.
Yes, and Sean from the SGT report.
May you please not take us to an actual hell with your technology.
That's a good place to end.
I'm just saying, I'd love to...
That's a good place to end. And, I look forward to the day I do sit down with Elon Musk and get to ask him some of these questions.
He'll do it.
As my fellow South African. Yeah. I'll just put a little plug there. Thank you so much, Clay.
Hey.
It's great talking to you.
Thank you.
We'll do it again. I know we will.
Psst, ladies and gentlemen, this just in. We'll keep this a little secret between you and me and them and everybody. Whoa. The people that are actually at the tip of the spear, working directly with President Trump on a day-to-day basis to save this nation, they're all joining us on the Reawaken America tour. We have President Donald J. Trump's Chief of Staff, Kash Patel. We've got Peter Navarro's joined us on the tour. We have General Michael Flynn. We have Eric Trump. The people actually working at the tip of the spear with President Donald J. Trump to save America are joining us on the Reawaken America tour. Whoa. If word of this gets out, if the truth about election fraud, medical fraud, religious fraud, monetary fraud, and mainstream media gets out, it may just save the nation.
The Reawaken tour's coming to our place, hallelujah. It's gonna be lit. It's gonna be lit. Yeah, it's gonna be lit. Wide slam open.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, on May 12th and 13th, the Reawaken America Tour is coming to Miami, Florida, and to the beautiful Trump Doral Resort and Golf Course. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, the Reawaken America Tour is coming to Miami, Florida on May 12th and 13th. Get your sunscreen ready because General Flynn, Mike Lindell, Amanda Grace, Julie Green, Pastor Dave Scarlett, Dr. Judy Mikovits, Kash Patel, and Team America are taking the Reawaken America Tour to Trump Doral on May 12th and 13th. And then we're taking the God-fearing, revival-starting Reawaken America Tour into Sin City. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are taking the God-fearing Reawaken America Tour to Las Vegas, Nevada on August 25th and 26th. General Flynn and Team America will be taking the Reawaken America Tour to Las Vegas, Nevada. And the Patriots will be staying together at Trump International Hotel, Las Vegas, located at 2000 Fashion Show Drive, Las Vegas, Nevada, with zip code 89109 if you want to send them a letter. And yes, Alex Jones will be live and in person at the Reawaken America Tour, Las Vegas, Nevada. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, put it on your calendar. Get those tickets right now. August 25th and 26th. Eric Trump, Dr. Peter McCullough, Mel K, Dr. Stella Emanuel, Owen Schroyer, Alex Jones, Seth Holhouse, Pastor Mark Burns, Pastor Leon Benjamin. We're all taking the Reawaken America Tour to Las Vegas, Nevada, ladies and gentlemen. Las Vegas, Nevada. And that's going to be August 25th and 26th. Thus far on the Reawaken America Tour, we've featured Dr. Dave Martin, the late great Dr. Vladimir Zelenko, Charlie Kirk, Donna Clement Petruska, Sean Foyt, Karen Kingston, Chad Prather, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Dr. Alan Keyes, Mickey Willis, Roger Stone, Dr. Richard Bartlett, and hundreds of patriotic speakers that you know, including Del Bigtree, Thomas Renz, Sidney Powell, Jim Caviezel, Donald J. Trump Jr., Peter Navarro, Klaus Schwab, Yuval Noah Harari, Bill Gates, and the godless globalists have their annual meeting called the World Economic Forum at Davos. But we that reject the Great Reset have the Reawaken America Tour coming to Miami, Florida, and coming to Las Vegas, Nevada. Get those tickets at time2freeamerica.com. That's time2freeamerica.com. We have scholarship pricing to make these events affordable for everybody. Every Reawaken America Tour event has sold out, so request those tickets today at time2freeamerica.com. That's time2freeamerica.com. Or for faster service, you can send me a personal text to 918-851-0102. That's 918-851-0102. And to be bilingually sensitive, that's 918-851-0102.
We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by you know the thing.
We will shut you down. We will cite you. And if we need to, we will arrest you and we will take you to jail. Period.
I wasn't thinking of the Bill of Rights when we did this.
But no amendment to the Constitution is absolute.
God actually spoke to me. He spoke about sacredness. He said to me, Kim, what I place in many, many people is sacred. And if anybody touches what is sacred to me, then it is the end for them. So what I've done in the United States of America is sacred. And there are people on every side that are trying to destroy what I deem sacred. And it's not going to happen.
This is the definition of criminal conspiracy, racketeering, and collusion. This is not a theory. This is evidence.
Because I have upheld this country to spread the light to the rest of the world. When you choose to go against the sacred thing that God puts into the very heart and the soil of this nation, this was sacred to God.
Now is the time to act.
This is exactly why I need some action from my people. Hello, everybody. It's an honor to be with you.
Listen, I don't know what's going on. I don't even want to say president. I don't know what it is. I just know it comes out. It gives no hope. It just...
And I have to say, in my memory, you were one of the most engaged and hardest working participants here at the annual meeting.
Dr. Schwab, I'm flattered you'd asked me to keynote. You've written extensively on the topic that you've asked me to speak to. Mastering the Fourth Industrial Revolution. Mastering the Fourth Industrial Revolution.
How concerned are you about the collapse of the U.S. dollar, sir?
It's the end of the dollar system. So the end is near for the U.S. dollar, and my concern is it's going to wipe out stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs. Just for my generation, the boomer generation, we're in serious trouble because the only reason our stocks, bonds, mutual funds are up is because the Fed and the Treasury just kept printing more and more money.
I mean, COVID makes it accelerates the process of digitalization and automatization. It legitimizes the deployment of mass surveillance, and it makes surveillance go under your skin.
This is Richard Werner, the top academic scholar in the world on central banking.
The nature of this CBDC, what is it actually going to look like? They never talk about that.
Right.
But I heard one European central banker tell me what it's going to look like. He saw it. And it was around this large and would be implanted under your skin.
We are about to face one of the greatest periods of uncertainty in American history. Organize your finances, expand your knowledge, your insight as to what it is that you have, and then start making decisions.
And one way to protect your money is by investing in precious metals, gold and silver. That's always been a great way to make sure that you keep your money and you keep it safe. When you go to bh-pm.com, use promo code TRUMP. That way, if you decide you want to invest in gold and silver, you'll save yourself a little bit of money.
Nobody wants to know what's in the vaccines because, look, if people understood what was in the vaccine, they'd go apeshit.
And you see, the difference of this fourth industrial revolution is it doesn't change what you are doing. It changes you if you take a genetic editing.
And he caused all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name.